Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. We will have a... But Alfredo says not. It's working. Do you listen to me? Yeah? Okay. Alfredo, it's, don't know. Come closer. So, as I was saying, thank you for being here. Welcome, everybody. It's a great pleasure to have so many people interested in this conference. So we'll have a super short presentation with the organizers here, Tito and Alejandro from Chile. I prepared just very few slides, and then we'll start with the real action and the great plenary that we have to open our meeting. Okay, so welcome, as I said, and it is very important for us to have you here because for the first time since it started, the ICSP meeting comes to the south, and it's held in South America, and it required the joint effort of two countries, Brazil and Chile, to have what we hope will be a nice experience for all of you. So, as is customary, these are the sponsors. It was jointly organized then by IMPA and CMM. And then we have institutional funding agencies from Brazil, federal level and regional level, CAPES, NPQ, FAPERGE. We got a lot of support from energy companies in the country, Tracbel and ONS. Then we have a former student who gave us money. There it's the black one. And yeah, well, so students, be aware that in the future your advisors will ask for money if you become rich, okay? It's and then, well, I asked some of them because there are some who are doing well, and one responded, so I'm happy. Then we have the European Working Group of Stochastic Programming, Census, PGMO, the program of optimization funded by EDF, Springer, and down there on the right is ScienceConf. It's a fantastic platform for managing events that was mounted by CNRS, and it saved our life. It's really, it deserves a place there. Okay, so practical matters now. Tomorrow, after the talk of Andrzej Ruszyński, we'll go to the back door of the hotel where the poster picture was taken, where there are the lions, and there we will take the group picture. So please come, and we'll immortalize this moment. We'll have to run there and then come back for the coffee break and then continue our sessions. We have half an hour, it should be okay. Then social activities, you know, tomorrow we'll have this happy hour with open bar of caipirinhas and open food and open music and open dance. And we'll walk going through that exit, the back exit, to the boîte that is called Privilege, that is on the same Orla Bardot. Then on Wednesday, so since we will be going to sleep late, the next day we'll have the free morning and we'll go and drown ourselves in the sea because after the party, but well, anyway. So we have the boat excursion that you chose one of the two possible alternatives. Then on Thursday we have our gala dinner that it's in a very nice hotel in another beach to the other side. Now we are in the north side of the peninsula. It will be on the other side, Ferradura Beach. And well, for those who do not eat meat, there are options. The options are grill, vegetables, and cheese. Okay, so then what else do we have? Practical information. There is a room whose name is Canto. And where is Canto room? It's a little bit different. So we are here in the joints Tucuns, Tartaruga, Jeribá, João Fernandes, and then those smaller ones, the entrance is from the side, and this one is Canto. And Canto in Portuguese is corner. So remember that this you will remember. The Canto room is in the corner, okay? Another thing that is producing a little bit of confusion is who is giving my talk. Because you enter in the program online, and then you see something like this. There is a thematic session, the date, the time, and then there is a name that is not yours, for my talk, for example. Okay? So Erno Fernandi is the chair of the thematic session, okay? And the one who speaks is below. So don't be confused. So who is giving my talk? That's the chair, it's not you. You are giving your talk. Okay, so the chair will not give all the talks. So then we have, we will be filming the plenaries, and we will put them in some links, and the PDF likewise. We'll send you the links. We also film the tutorials. IMPA has a YouTube channel where we put all this disposition to the world. And then since there was a bus with many students arriving late for the first tutorial of Jim Luetke, and we had many requests, then on Thursday at 4:45 in this room, to Kunz, we will project it again for those who will want to come. Okay, since we film it, we'll use this technology to catch up. Those who bought the tickets for the dinner can see Rafaela Pelosi. She arrived today, she has the tickets, and she's in the half circle that is on that side. If you want to buy, it's through the link in PayPal, if you want to buy tickets. About the buses that go back to Rio, we will make a form. We are making forms. We will have buses leaving on Friday and buses leaving on Saturday, and then you can choose, and then we will see how many buses to bring. And we already ordered better buses than the one that brought some of you on Saturday. Okay, so what else? We have a Springer stand with books. And the books that are there, I was planning to organize some lottery, and I will send you then some form, again, a Google form, to tell us in which I will group, separate in different subjects the books, and then you will choose in which group you want to be, and then we'll make a lottery and we'll distribute the books. Okay? So I think, I don't want to speak about football. I hope you will understand. So I think that's all I want to say, no. So we got 15% discount in those two restaurants that are in Rua das Pedras. So you have to show your badge, and they will give it to you. On the left is Havana. Sorry, I took a picture with the tablet. It's not very good. And on the right is Don Juan. So international and Brazilian, and on the right is barbecue. I think it's from Argentina. They are both in Rua das Pedras, and the little flyers are outside. You can see them better, but with the badge they should give you the discount. Okay, and now yes, now it's about the participants. The web designer Cristian Murillo did it from CMM, who was the one who designed our nice poster too. I don't know if you see here, this is the world, and the participants from different, there are dots here from different countries, from where participants of ICSP are coming. And well, to help seeing, here is, we are really getting people from many places. You can see, well, a lot. And if you look at this shape, then you can recognize the swimming pool area. So with this, I think I am done. If some of you want to say something else, otherwise, afterwards we pass. We start with the science.
Okay, just very quickly, just want to make a couple comments. Well, in assembling the program, right, we knew we had some uphill battle, knowing that there would be the Olympics in Rio in August. So we knew we had to prepare the program far in advance, so people could book tickets, right? So, so we may remember that you got some first messages back last year asking you to submit proposals for thematic sessions, and it was very early, so right. So that was back in August. And so I really want to thank the community for responding so well. By September, we already had, almost the bulk of the conference was actually assembled back in, we had all the talks back in September. So this was an excellent response, so I really appreciate. Also, I'd like to thank the program committee for helping us, selecting speakers, assembling the program. They have been of a great help. And two quick comments also about the program. Please make sure you check the online program, okay, that is available on the conference website, because there have been changes since we printed the program, so make sure you get the latest version in the online program. And also for those who have if you've seen the program, like the one what Claudia pointed out, there's the session name in the name of a person there, right? That's the session chair. So if your name is there, you are the session chair. Don't forget that, okay? So you'll be responsible for keeping track of the time, of the speakers and everything, okay, during that session, okay? So thank you very much, and welcome to the conference.
Well, just to say that it's been a pleasure to work with Tito and Claudia. That shows that it's easy to organize a conference with two countries. And well, it's only enjoy the conference. Okay.
Okay, now, will you take the tables here or will stay here? Okay, do you think you can give your talk even with the table in the middle?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to be standing anyway.
Okay, so this is yours.
Thank you very much.
Then I will tell them, when they come, we'll tell them not to come. And I don't want to pass here, well, I will pass. So now we'll get into the real action, as I said, and we have the honor of having Mario Veiga Pereira, Ferreira, sorry, I'm changing your name. That's no, Ferraz Veiga Pereira. No, well, Mario.
Mario.
Okay, he is CEO from PSR, a consulting company that is almost 30 years old, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And he is deeply responsible for all the stochastic programming that is known here in Brazil. So, for all the good. And it is really a pleasure to have him here because he has always been an enthusiastic supporter of scientific activities, and he has a very important merit, in my opinion, is that his employees are always encouraged to participate in conferences worldwide and also to study. And this is something that I think more CEOs should do. So thank you very much for being here, Mario. And
Claudia, it's my pleasure. Well, good morning, bon dia. It's a real honor. I thank the organizing committee for inviting me to make a presentation here. Also, it's been great. I've seen friends who I haven't seen for many years, like having breakfast today with Andy Philpott and yesterday John Burge, and knowing people that I never met. I had the pleasure of meeting personally, like Shabir Ahmed and Paul. So it's a treat for me. I tried to make a presentation, as Claudia mentioned. We are a consulting company. We have this not very bad view. Okay, we are located in Rio, and half of our work is related to developing software for planning and scheduling, and it's very heavily based on stochastic optimization. Half of our work is consulting in the energy area, so there's a lot of synergy, and there's the feedback of learning, from the customers and from the stress of real life. I'm really proud. We have 54 people, 17 PhDs. We have 14 of my colleagues are here, so I'm really proud of their team. There really are the guys who do the work. I just get the credits, for the fantastic work they do. And since the theme is energy and stochastic, I think the first thing is stochastic models in the energy area are really mainstream, okay? These are the countries in which they have been applied in real life for decisions, for planning, for actual operations. You see that they span all continents, and more recently, the World Bank has acquired a new set of tools, and with it's kind of state-of-the-art stochastic optimization, and it's been applying to real planning for countries. So the energy area, due to the first of money involved, to the incredible uncertainties, is one area in which those techniques have really been applied in real life. Just one example, for perhaps 6-7 years, Thomson Reuters has a system for forecasting prices in the Norwegian, in the Scandinavian markets, Nord Pool, and it's a bottom-up approach. So they modeled everything, okay? They run a stochastic optimization. As Scandinavian people are nice, there's no problem of market power, so the fundamentalist model is very close to what you get in terms of prices. And it's a service that every week publishes the forecast, and let's say it's very nice track record, and it's one of the applications which you really have detailed bottom-up approach. I divided the presentation into 2 clusters. I would like to talk a little bit about real-life applications, so you know how the algorithms are used, which kind of the computation performance. The first part, multi-stage generation transmission scheduling, has been done in partnership with one of my colleagues, Ricardo. The second one is expansion planning with another colleague, Lucas. And then I'm going to talk about 4 recent developments, methodological developments, which I thought that you guys could think of interesting. The first thing is the problem of multi-scaling. Usually, these stochastic models, they have weekly intervals or monthly intervals. But now, because of renewables such as winds, we need very fine grain within each interval, like 160 hours a week or 730 hours. So it's kind of messy. It requires a lot of computational effort. And Camila has developed a very interesting technique, which is an analytical immediate cost function that allows us to represent all of these hourly things in detail, but with the same computational effort as a usual model. The second thing is risk aversion. Yesterday, there was a talk about risk aversion. Risk aversion is a really important topic. And Brazil is in a very funny situation. We have been the guinea pigs of all the risk aversion methodologies. So we are in a good position to tell you, you know, what works, what doesn't work, which kind of things has given us nightmares. And the third topic is a topic that is very close to us. Yesterday, I was talking with Powell, and when you're doing real-life problems, modeling is as important as the optimization. And one of the things that we tend to have nice stochastic models. The stochastic models have parameters, mean, standard deviation, correlation, so on. And no one really worries too much where the parameters came from. And the parameters are estimated from data. And this data is very short, which means that there is an incredible uncertainty, but the moment they are put into the models, you treat them as gospel. So we try to look a little bit on what is the effect of parameter uncertainty on the model, and we have some approaches on how to deal with this. And it's Bernardo Bezerra that's done the work. And last but not least, Fernanda Tomé. She's addressing one problem, which is kind of also, I think, of practical interest and also theoretical interest. Is when you do expansion plan, you decide on the construction of things from here to the future. And I'm going to present you very nice algorithms for doing this. But the problem with expansion plans is that they don't take into account the time of construction. Because if the model decides that some unit is going to start operation in 2023, and it takes 6 years to build, okay, you just subtract 6 years and magically, okay? But in real life, it makes a whole difference between having equipment that takes 2 years to build and having equipment that takes 6 years to build, because the future is never what you think it is, and the ability to adapt is an important thing. So we have been working on what we call expansion planning, expansion strategies. That is, how you develop techniques for modeling the adjustment of plans as things evolve. So coming to the models, I'm going to talk about two models, SDP, which is a multi-stage stochastic generation transmission scheduling, and OptiGen, which is the planning model. I'm not going to be talking about detailed transmission models, which have been applied, for example, on the west coast of the United States, or optimum power flow models for a lack of time. SDP is, as you know, I was the proposer of the SDP algorithm. Yesterday, somebody told me that Rockefeller and Watts, they developed the progressive hedging algorithm, basically because they had missed the plane and they had some free time. I thought that was interesting because SDP was also written in airports, but not because I had missed the plane. I was actually arrested by the police, okay? And I will not tell why, but I'm sure my colleagues will be glad to embarrass their bosses, their boss, okay? But basically, I had several hours when I was incarcerated, and I took the time to write SDP, and shows what peace and quiet can do. And for several months, it was known as the Federal Police algorithm before we put in the name. What uncertainties we present with SDP? One is hydrogen flows, which was the bread and butter. Now we represent all kinds of renewable generation. Let's say the basic modeling is a multivariate stochastic model, but you have to put all kinds of real-life things. So we represent macroclimatic events, El Nino. I was just discussing with a friend from Costa Rica. El Nino has had a big impact here. We also represent something that for a Brazilian is very weird, like snow, okay? But snow melt and this kind of thing. It's a special process. Spatial correlation between hydro and wind is a headache. It's very nonlinear, very weird. You have to do this kind of thing. And of course, we allow people to get their own favorite models and produce scenarios of these models. We take this as kind of funny historical model and adjust again. We represent another big thing is uncertainty of fuel costs. Low growth rates for developing countries is a real thing. We represent this as Markov chains. So it's hybrid SDP, this part is discretized. Yesterday, I was having an interesting conversation. There was somebody from Austria that argues that we should model also inflows with Markov chains instead of the linear stochastic process. If you are working a market, for example, you are bidding on a market, and so you want to optimize your schedule like we do with Verbund in Austria. You have to represent the market prices and, of course, for outages and that stuff, good old-fashioned Monte Carlo. So I say the stochastic organization comprises all of these sources of uncertainty. In terms of representation, the same model is used for long-term planning, like 25 years, weekly or monthly intervals, and within the stage, as I mentioned, you can have 5 or 6 blocks, or you can go full way to hourly representation. All kinds of plants have to be represented, also in terms of transmission network, full transmission network, like active power flow with losses, or full AC power flow. Also, because of the interconnection between gas and electricity, you represent storage, you represent contracting, LNG, and all the things together with electricity. And something that, in my opinion, is becoming more and more important is the water energy nexus. So if you have a river, power production was one objective, but you have objectives of irrigation, you have objectives of water supply to cities, and more there are conflicts in the management of these resources. So these tools are also used in a way for you to negotiate the multiple uses. I'm not going to go in details in algorithm. I know that there have been tutorials about this, and there are some sessions in which this is going to talk. Just remind the two things. So the 3 tricks of SDP is a piecewise linear approximation of future cost function. And second trick is we simulate the system operation get ideas of interesting states. So we let the optimization itself indicate us which are the nice states to do additional recursion, and we have the probabilistic convergence criteria. And as you all know, it's just a fancy multi-stage stochastic banded decomposition. The algorithm itself, the forward simulation, as I mentioned, finds new states and gets us the upper bounds. The backward recursion updates the future cost functions and gets us an increase in lower bounds, and the convergence check. What I'm going to talk is distributed processing, because the forward simulations naturally parallel, and the backward recursion you also can parallelize. So from the beginning, we realized that this could be something that would help us. Since 2001, SDP runs on computer networks. And in 2006, when Amazon started its cloud service, we were Amazon's first customers in Latin America in any area. We got the service 2 weeks before it inaugurated. And it's great because you have tremendous computational power at a very cheap cost. So the algorithm is very suitable, this pure dumb luck, for distributed processing. And in our view, it's an integral part. As I mentioned, forward simulations embarrassingly parallel. We just do all the hundreds of scenarios separately. In the backward simulation, we do the backward recursions independently for each scenario, but we are kind of conservative. We synchronize at each point. We have been playing with asynchronous versions of SDP. They show promising results, but we still wanted to be able to reproduce, let's say, a run in the single computer should give the same results. So we're a bit conservative, but still there is an inefficiency that one day we're going to get rid of. And one example of a real run, a Brazilian system, the our installed capacity is 125,000 megawatts. For you to have an idea, Brazil has the same area as continental United States plus half Alaska. For those from Europe, the tip of Brazil, Porto Alegre, to Belém is the same distance as Lisbon to Moscow. So it's pretty big. Or something I always did with my Spanish friends, the transmission line for Itaipu is bigger than Spain. So it gives an idea of, let's say, distances. And one of the reasons that Brazil can afford to have a very high share of renewables, in the past we had up to 90% hydro, is the fact that we have several climates. So it's two things: portfolio effect. We have 11 major basins with different climates and huge transmission lines. So all of the time we're transferring water, energy, from the wet basins to the dry basins. So this requires a lot of coordination and was one of the motivations for having stochastic dynamic programming for a long time in Brazil and other countries in Latin America. So the system right now has 160 hydro plants, 85 with storage, which means they are state variables, 140 thermal plants, gas, coal, oil, nuclear. We got 8,000 megawatts of wind going to 18,000 megawatts. We have 10,000 megawatts under construction, 5,000 megawatts of sugarcane biomass, 1 gigawatt of solar. Transmission network has 5,000 buses, 7,000 circuits. And so in terms of state variables, we have 85 for storage, and we use autoregressive lag 2 for inflows. Of course, inflows are also applied to the hydro with less storage. So it's 160 times 2, 220, total number of state variables, 405. The study had 10 years, 120 stages. The forward scenario is 1,200 scenarios, backward branching 30. Number of SDP iterations, this case 10. That results in 43 million LPs. Pretty big LPs because of transmission network and stuff. Total execution time, 90 minutes, using 25 servers with 16 processors. And Andy was asking me how much it costs, probably 25 bucks. And I'm not making propaganda of Amazon. I'm just giving a hint to people that you can get wonderful deals with Amazon if you're at university, especially if you mention them that you're going to with Google or IBM. They really, you can play one against the other, and it's something that we think is nice. And now for the expansion planning. So what we do with expansion planning is a regular banded decomposition in which we have an investment module. An investment module decides on expansion plan, that is when to build each type of equipment. You have a trial plan, and then you go for scheduling model. Scheduling model, full-scale SDP, okay? And then SDP provides you expected operation costs, investment problem modules provides you investment cost. You check convergence, and then, of course, you generate Bender's cut. So it's a multi-stage stochastic optimization this way, and then regular Bender's decomposition the other way. Example, Bolivia. Bolivia, this is the official expansion plan from Bolivia. It's a joint generation transmission. This was an idea of one of the colleagues. It's nice. First, they show an SDP run without any reinforcement. So what happens is that marginal cost, that is the price of energy, of course, goes very high because there is lack of generation and transmission. So you see, starting from 2018, the marginal costs explode, which means that you need to make reinforcements. Then you run the optimization. For that study, we had 123 candidates times 9 years, because you can choose one of 9 years to invest. They are generation. Bolivia is very rich in gas, so we had 17 thermal plants. Bolivia also has hydro, actually very interesting hydro projects and some renewables. And there were 92 transmission lines. So the number of Bender's iterations, that is investment, then optimization, for this until converges, 53. For each SDP, an average 5 iterations. In this case, in the forward step, we used 100 scenarios, backward step, 30 scenarios. Total execution time, 2 hours, 2.5 hours, using, in this case, not 25 servers, but 2 servers. So it's, let's say, computationally intensive, but you can carry out and do real studies with this kind of thing. And this is just, I thought it was interesting. So these are the marginal costs after the expansion, as the customer likes and we like, so that you flatten up the marginal costs, so that you have something that at least is reasonable. And this is just for showing how much it was built of thermal. Thermal is always red, hydro is always blue, and renewables, of course, are green. And this is just because the kids at the office want to show that they have a nice graphics to produce transmission. So here, there. In summary, there is, I think, worldwide extensive experience. We can talk about our experience. The 70 countries I mentioned are the countries that we work directly in. But I know that many other areas have done work, not only consultants such as EDF and our partners, but I know that Andy has worked in real problems, Paul has worked in real problems. So overall, I think that the energy area is an area in which we can say that stochastic optimization is really mainstream, okay? And in particular, the composition techniques, I think, are nice. The models today, they already are representing a great deal of details, real-life details. And we are very agnostic in the representation of uncertainties. Actually, I like everything. I like trees, I like Markov chains, I like the stochastic process, whatever works. And I think that's the best way to go. And again, I'm not gaining any money from Amazon, but it's really, really cheap. Just another trick, which Rafael Chabar is the guy who coordinates all the modeling people. And he's also has a great quality. He's a great administration, and it's very cheap. Okay, he's always looking for a good bargain. So he was the guy who discovered that you have a fixed price with Amazon, but every hour they have a spot price for CPUs. Okay, so basically the models look, when they start to run, it says, okay, it's spot price, CPU cheaper than our contract. We go with CPU. And he was also the guy who discovered that Amazon has regions, okay? And when people go to sleep, they start using less computers and the CPU price falls. So our models follow the votes, okay, looking for good bargains. So if you want advice on how to squeeze IBM and Amazon, Rafael Chabar is the guy. Recent developments. As I mentioned, I'll start with the analytical representation of immediate cost function. And what is the motivation? For many years, the people have been using stochastic optimization for decades to represent hydro. So we kind of got used to the idea that weekly or monthly intervals are okay, and that maybe 6, 7, 8 load blocks are okay. But then those guys invented wind and all of that fun stuff. And wind is entering those systems at a very fast rate. So system planners, operators are getting a panic, okay? What happens to my system? Of this huge variability. I'm going to have transmission problems, and I'm going to have operation problems. And what happens is that the insertion of these technologies is going ahead of the ability to analyze the impact. One interesting example was in the Pacific Northwest, in which we work with Bonneville Power Administration. They had to spill wind, okay, basically because they have a hydro, they have wind, and there was a lot of hydro, a lot of wind, and no transmission constraints. They have to choose, they choose to spill wind, and then of course they were sued by the wind people because they wanted them to spill water, and it's a mess. And people are getting very insecure about this, and even if you suspect that you don't need hourly representation, it's natural and makes a lot of sense that people want to see detailed representation. But then you say, okay, but I'm going to do a detailed hourly or sub-hourly. Paul, for example, he likes 5 minutes intervals, okay, so even crazier. And within a stochastic optimization framework. So the number of constraints I have has to do with the number of power balance equations. So if I'm doing 3 power balance equations, makes a lot of difference compared to making 168 or 730. So the computational efforts of each SDP execution, that is each individual LP, increases tremendously, and so we start looking at ways on how to reduce this computational effort. That is, still have the multi-stage stochastic optimization with the detail, but not exploding computational effort. And the basic idea is the following. This is a very simplified representation of the equations that we have. First equation is, of course, minimize immediate costs plus expected future costs. So immediate cost is just a sum over all thermal plants. I index it by J of Cj, their operating cost, times their generation in the stage, in the interval, in the stage, the tau and J, plus the future cost function. We have the storage balance equation. Water at the end of the period is equal to water at the beginning of the period, plus storage, plus the water comes in, plus water you combine, and so on. The power balance equation, the summation of all thermal generation plus the production from hydro, E, which is the production coefficient times the turbine outflow, is equal to the load minus the renewables, and of course the future cost function. If you look at these equations, first of all, there is a lot of linear segments in the future cost function. For example, I was mentioning, if I have 1,200 forward simulations, and then I have for each simulation, I have a Benders cuts. I do 10 iterations. I have 12,000 cuts. And the trick for solving this model is relaxation. Basically, if you solve the model with a known of these constraints and then look and get the n most violated constraints, you need just one more iteration. Relaxation is very, very effective. And so the basic idea was, what if I pre-calculate all of the immediate costs? Because if I give you one hydro, total hydro generation, the problem of how this hydro is distributed along the hours, and so as to minimize thermal costs, is a very well-formulated problem. So if I magically can pre-calculate the immediate cost function, the problem will look like this. Just minimize immediate cost, now as an explicit function instead of being implicit function, plus the future cost function. The gray is the same equation, storage, balance, and future cost function. And now I have immediate cost function. So all of the power balances equations disappeared, which means that the problem size now does not depend on the time intervals. It became much smaller, okay? And actually, the problem size does not depend whether I'm going to do the simulation of with a 5 minutes intervals or 15-minute intervals or 1 hour intervals, okay? So, and the other thing is, of course, the immediate cost function has a lot of cuts, but in the same way that I learned that I can use relaxation techniques for the future cost function, just to use the same tricks for. So one small detail is, how do I build this immediate cost function? If I look at the middle cost function, it's the traditional thing. I have a coupling constraint, summation of all the hydrogen generation equal to the target. And then I have separate modules, typical Dantzig-Wolff decomposition. And what we do, we take the Lagrangian, okay? And we take the Lagrangian, the problem decomposes into 730 separate dispatch problems. And the beautiful thing is that instead of going all the range of the Lagrangians, we know that the Lagrangians can only have J values, which is a hydro plant can be cheaper than the cheapest thermal plant, or it can be between the cheapest thermal plant and second cheapest thermal plant up to the most expensive thermal plant. So I know beforehand, okay, which are the Lagrangians that are of interest. And so I could decompose the problem into checking 5 Lagrangians, which means that running a dispatch problem, just putting the hydro is the cheapest, the hydro is the second cheapest, and so on. Now, if we look at the problem of thermal dispatch, okay, in which hydro is now as honorary thermal plant, in which its cost is the Lagrangian, we know that this problem has a very nice feature. This problem decomposes into J reliability evaluations, okay? Why? Because the optimal solution of solving everything at one is the same as the optimal solution of putting the cheapest hydro, the cheapest thermal, the second cheapest thermal, and so on. So the dispatch itself decomposes into J reliability evaluations. And reliability evaluation is just comparing total capacity with loads, okay? So the problem just dissolves. And this is a trick that was used in the 1990s when people did probabilistic production costing with a low duration curve. I was saying that we stole the trick, but actually the sad truth is that I'm old enough to have worked on these things in the past, so I kind of just got it from memory. So, which means that you can do this extremely, extremely quickly, actually in 0 time. And so the construction of these, the big work in the construction is how to manage the cuts, okay? But let's say building the cuts, pre-building the cuts is real easy. Of course, means that it was real easy, and since this was a thesis, I got ambitious and say, okay, now let's go for system with multiple areas. Let's put transmission in this. Okay, and when you put transmission in this, you still have the trick of decomposing the problem into reliability evaluation problems, but the reliability evaluation problems are no longer stupid problems in which you're comparing total capacity against total demand. It becomes a max flow problem, because if I have areas, basically, and I have generation capacity in each area, I want to know if I'm able to meet the load. This is just running a max flow, okay? And of course, there are very nice, efficient algorithms for running max flow. But in this case, we decided to use max flow min cuts. So again, I don't have an optimization problem. I'm just checking one of the 2 to the n constraints that represents min cuts, which is the biggest. Why is this? Because this is exactly the same as calculating future cost functions, okay, and we can do this by GPUs. GPUs are really, really good at doing this type of stuff, okay? And so, Camila Metello, she's going to make a presentation. She had all these tricks, so I have to give up, okay, that not torture her anymore and allow her to have the thesis, but there's still work going on. We discovered that we can represent batteries and stuff. Anything that has intra-stage regulation, we can represent. Just in this case, gets really bigger max flows. But fortunately, all the people that work in machine learning, their bread and butter is solving max flows efficiently. So we're stealing shamelessly from them to try to get a faster work. And also, we have an alternative formulation that, in theory, God willing, allows us to do unit commitment and transmission constraints, and then we're going to be real happy. But at the stage we are, there are a lot of practical problems that you can do to solve this. I will say no further because Camila threatened me to kill me if I gave more spoilers, so watch Camila's presentations, okay, to see the actual applications. Just one hint, speed ups of more than 2 hours of magnitude. Now, risk aversion. This is our mascot for risk aversion. It's a guinea pig with armor. And as I mentioned, Brazil has been the guinea pig for the three only ways that you can represent risk aversion. First, you can put a risk premium on the supply failures, okay? Second one, ensure feasibilities for, let's say, dry scenarios. It's kind of robust optimization type stuff. And third, that was Alex Shapiro's brilliant idea, and other people, CVAR on costs, okay? And basically, you are giving more weight in the opening of SDDP to the most costly scenarios. And as I mentioned, it's kind of funny because Brazil tried the tree. So you're going to have inside information on what works. The first one was putting penalties, okay? This was from the beginning, when half of the people for PSR was not even born. What we did was that we start with the penalty, then we put the penalty as part of the penalization for not failing to supply loads, ran SDP and calculated the reliability. For example, the risk of having a shortage in a given year. And for example, suppose the risk was 6%, and my infinite wisdom as the planner said that the good thing is 5%. So I increase the penalty, run again, and until I converge. Real simple, easy, and kind of bothered us, okay? Why it bothered us? Because risk does not give me any indication of severity, okay? So we say, but it's not the same thing as having 5% probability of having just a tiny little shortages in, maybe 3% probability of having a horrible shortage. Should I not represent, severity? And then we started getting all confused because, well, somehow severity has to do with have piecewise penalty function. Okay, but what is the angle? What is the shift? And why 2 pieces? Why not 3, 4? And then we got this smorgasbord of everybody making suggestions and this kind of thing, and we got really confused until Rockefeller came and saved us with a CVAR. Because then we said, okay, what I really want is to find a penalty function that ensures me that the expected energy not supplied in the, 1% quantile should be lesser than or equal 5% of the load or something like this. At least I can say what I like. And lo and behold, what happens that with a CVAR, you get one segment which comes from economic studies to pretend that we care about the econometric people, okay? And using, input, output matrix and this kind of thing. But the real nice thing is that there is a one-to-one relationship between a CVAR criterion and having one extra segment, okay? So the question is, can we figure out what the segment is? And turns out that this was the thesis of Luis Carlos. You can. Basically, what we do is we guess on the slope, and then we solve an optimization problem with SDP to determine the optimal shift. It turns out that finding the optimal shift is exactly like a planning problem. So there's a little investment module, there's an operation module. So we find the optimal shift for the CVAR criterion, and then we simulate and see if it meets the overall CVAR criteria. If not, I increase the slope and try again. So you can actually do this. Then we got kind of these new developments were later, okay? At the time, we're really getting really tired of the piecewise functions, and then I proposed something that was called the risk aversion curve, in which basically it says, okay, what's the real problem? Is that if I have a rationing again, and the drought is not worse than the worst drought in history, I'm going to have a real hard time explaining to the newspaper. So we just put a robust criterion which is say, okay, at least spare me from having droughts of things that are as bad as were the worst that happened in the past. So basically this means that I have to have lots of feasibility cuts. So later we extended to something called the risk aversion surface and made it more formal as getting feasibility cuts. and this applies directly into the stochastic programming. There's a little auxiliary model that looks ahead and meets the reliability criterion. I think André from CEPEL is making a presentation on the implementation of this algorithm. So we got this for about 10 years, and then Alex came to Brazil, and people from the National System Operators already this year got enthusiastic with this, and then we put CVAR on operation costs. So that was the third and most recent. And basically, as you know well, the objective function now has lambda, expected value of operation cost, but 1 minus lambda CVAR of operation cost. It turns out that it's real easy to implement this into SDP. So we got all enthusiastic, implemented this in SDP. But then the government got over-enthusiastic. They say, oh, this is great. Okay, you have 15 days to decide on lambda alpha calibrates, and so people hurried. And I'm not really sure if the parameters were okay. We're revising the parameters now after 3 years. But so this is the table. So easy to understand. CVAR on energy not supplied, it's really easy to understand, the one that has piecewise linear function. Aversion curve is real easy to understand. You just tell people, okay, rationing never will happen again, so real easy for them to understand. And CVAR cost, sort of, okay? It's really hard to interpret what exactly you are optimizing. There's this nice properties of time consistent, but overall, okay, what is exactly that I'm minimizing? I was in Belgium a month ago with Alex. We have our own interpretation, and that it's related to distorting the condition probability distribution of inflows. But the major difficulties has been to kind of tell people exactly what we are optimizing. The other thing is, does it represent reliability targets directly? The first two, yes. You have reliability targets, and you are implementing something that ensures reliability targets. In the case of CVAR, you're doing this, but because you have two parameters, it goes in a more complicated way. You can do this. Easy to calibrate. Easy to calibrate means that, for example, suppose that fuel costs increase. I have to recalibrate again because it's a reliability criterion. So it's not something that's horrible, but once in a while you have to recalibrate the thing. Computational efforts. As I mentioned, CVAR cost is the same as SDP. System aversion, risk aversion surface, it's a little bit longer, okay? And CVAR, the calibration of the calculation of the slopes takes a long time because it's lots of bandit iteration, but once the piecewise function is calculated, it's a regular SDP run. Okay, and as usual, Luis Carlos doesn't want me to have any spoilers, any further spoilers, so watch his presentation to the details. Now talk about parameter uncertainty of, Claudia, how much time I have? 4 minutes? Oh, good. So as I mentioned, we assume that, population values, they are not population values. Okay, and we started to think, especially with wind, okay? With a hydro, I have perhaps 60, 70, 80 years. With wind, I really have 2 years, okay? They fake constructing data from all of those climatic simulations, and then they fake again, adjusting the data, but you have to be careful about this, because if you're putting a lot of wind in your system, this makes a difference. So the first thing is that how do I generate scenarios with data uncertainty? This is a typical bootstrapping problem. The practical way that we found is that you start with the historic data, adjust your model, then use your model to generate what they call the daughter historical sequences. So use your model to generate another 50-year pseudo-historical sequence, and then another 50-year. For each of the daughters, now adjust again the stochastic inflow model and generate the scenario. You're capturing the inflow uncertainty, okay? And this, the little black one, the little black triangle is the maximum likelihood estimation, and the other blue boxes is, the guy who produces rain in Brazil is St. Peter. So any of the blue boxes are as likely to be produced by St. Peter as the triangle. So just for fun, we chose 5, okay? And then we did, okay, imagine that you don't know this, you really believe that the parameters are the gospel, and run SDP with the parameters, but now simulate with the scenario generated for the other guys. So what you thought would cost 42, the units of this, can cost 60, okay? You can be really wrong. So we decided to work, and I think Rockefeller was the guy who gave us the framework to think about this. Is parameter estimation is part of the stochastic optimization process. So we started a more humble way. Basically what we did was we calculated the policy for parameter set number 1. We calculated policy for parameter set number 2, 5, like a diagonal of a matrix. Then we simulated the policy for all the other scenarios and got a matrix in which we applied minimax regrets, applied lambda expected value, and so on. So we selected the set of parameters that would minimize regrets or minimize lambda expected value plus. And as expected, the selected set of parameters is not the maximum likelihood, it's drier because the penalties for my thinking that water is coming and it's not coming is much higher than the penalty for thinking that water is not coming is coming, okay? And this gives us an incentive. We are now, and Bernardo is going to mention this, we're now representing this as part of the selection of the models as part of the stochastic dynamic programming recursion. And it's kind of funny because there are a lot of similarities with CVAR, okay? So watch Bernardo's presentation and generation strategies. 2 more minutes, okay? As I mentioned, expansion plans do not capture construction time. And this is really important to capture construction time because sometimes you think that a renewable is, for example, more expensive than a hydro, which is in case of Brazil. But hydro takes 7 years to build, which means that the future is very different then, and whereas renewables can adapt, okay? So we have a motivation to have expansion strategies, which means that can extend SDDP to include not only operating variables, but investment variables, okay? It turns out that we can. We use Markov chains to represent uncertainty field costs and load growth rates, which is important for, this is Fernanda Tomé's thesis. And non-convexities of binary state variables and other non-convexities, at the time, we had 2 ways. First of all, we could cheat. Basically, hydro takes so long to build that the conditioned prices seen 7 years from now are the marginal prices, which means that for hydro decisions, it's not really a strategy, it's a plan. So we put hydro in the investment module of the plan, so it's a hybrid plan strategy. And we put renewables as strategy, but we cheated and we put as continuous variables because we didn't know. And also, Fernanda has developed a strategy for getting tighter Lagrange, tighter cuts using Lagrange, okay? And that was the state of the art until a few weeks ago when the breakthrough, Shabir Ahmed's and his colleagues' papers that, to our surprise, okay, it's kind of, wow. It's, our nice Lagrangian cuts, they actually work with binary variables, whoopee. So we're working very hard on that, okay? In summary, there are real-life applications of risk aversion in the energy area, and it's interesting to compare them. Multi-scaling parameter uncertainty, important issues for analysis of renewables. Planning strategies, as I mentioned, also important for renewables. Lagrange by binary state variables, a very interesting approach. I know that Andy, we just read your paper, Midas. It's a very interesting approach. We're looking at it. I saw that there was a tutorial, another on integer. I think the time for integer stochastic has come. And I didn't have time to talk about all of the other papers that are going to be presented. Please watch the presentations. And also, we're trying to put more shame and publish more. So we'll be posting, real detailed papers by the end of the conference. Muito obrigado. Thank you very much.